If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, and so many more places. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, it's totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello again and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with RJ. If this is your first time listening, please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow. And depending on what platform you're using, please don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know exactly when we release brand new episodes. Today's episode, we're going to be focusing on real wealth. Now, this could go one of two ways. You could talk about financial wealth, or you can talk about things that really make a person wealthy, not pertaining to money, like family, true friends, a career with which you're happy. We're not going to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about specifically financial wealth. Now, one thing that I've learned from actual wealthy people with whom I associate is that those who are really wealthy don't act quote unquote wealthy. But then again, you have to dissect, what does it mean to be wealthy? Someone who is wealthy doesn't worry about money. They don't worry about how they're going to pay the bills. They're financially secure and they are comfortable in their living. They have a legacy of financial stability that will last, at least to their children and possibly even their grandchildren. But one thing that I've noticed amongst all the people that I've met that are very wealthy, they don't walk around with these extravagant gold chains and extravagant gold and diamond necklaces and all this super, super expensive jewelry. They don't do that. If they go to a high-end party or something like that, yeah, people are going to pull out their designer outfits and their designer jewelry and their designer watches and stuff like that because it's the atmosphere that they're going to. But on a normal walk around day, when they're on their yacht or when they're walking around their house or when they're walking around in the office and business and Wall Street, they're not doing that. If they're in a massive skyscraper, they're not wearing that stuff. The nicest thing you'll see them in is maybe a really nice car. But I see so many people out there wearing these extravagant outfits, these extravagant jewels all over their body, and they can't afford it. There's so many people out there in the world who buy these expensive designer dresses and outfits. They'll wear them to a party and then return them because they really can't afford that lifestyle. So they'll pretend that they're part of that lifestyle so that they fit in. But the interesting thing is that wealthy business owners don't do that. Look at how Bill Gates dresses. Look at how the founder of Apple, for some reason, Steve Jobs. I wanted to say like Cook was his last name, but yeah, look at Steve Jobs. Look at how simple he dresses. Look at the founder of Home Depot. Look at these multi-million-dollar corporations. Even if you look at Donald Trump, he has this trademark black suit with the red tie. He doesn't walk around with all these diamonds and stuff like that. Yeah, his hotel's like all decked out and jeweled out. But look at how he dresses. Look at how real celebrities that are extraordinarily wealthy, look at how they walk around on a normal day. Even if you look at like hip hop stars, the hip hop stars that really have made it extravagantly, those guys aren't walking around doing that kind of stuff. They're low key unless they know they're going to be in the public eye because they have a character they have to maintain. So why am I bringing this up today? The focus of this episode is to talk about real wealth. So many people want to achieve the symbols of wealth, i.e. a really expensive watch or a really expensive car or a really expensive necklace or diamonds, etc., etc., etc. They want to buy all this really expensive name brand stuff. But they don't even own their own home, which means they're blowing their money on stuff that doesn't make them money. When you look at wealthy people, they don't blow their money on pointless things. They blow their money on stuff that's going to make them more money. They're not going to sit there and spend so many hours buying this expensive, really, really ridiculously expensive car that's going to depreciate in value within a couple of months. They are definitely going to invest in cars that have increased in value, such as classic cars like the 1979 Camaro, the 1969 Mustang, the old school Chevy Novas, the old school Corvette Stingrays. These incredible works of art that are collector's items that have actually increased in value, they will have collections of those. Additionally, each one of these wealthy people invest in real estate. They invest in having their own properties, not just one, but multiple properties that they manage, because they know real estate is a very strong gainer of money. So for all those people out there right now listening, if you have like-minded individuals who have halfway good credit or good credit at all, you guys could partner up and buy a home. And none of you live in that home. You use that home as an investment opportunity to expand and build money so that you can each start building a corporation for yourself or building an ongoing stream of money. But you want to make sure that you're with like-minded individuals who really want to get out of poverty or really want to get out of just barely making it. If you have a luxury car but you're living in an apartment, if it's a luxury apartment, it's one thing. Okay, some people prefer apartments over houses. Okay, to each his own on that instance. But if you're living in a low-income apartment, yet you're driving a high-class Mercedes sports car or a Lamborghini or Ferrari, you're not managing your money well. The wealthy have things in their names. They don't have things in other people's names. Being wealthy is knowing how to manage your money, knowing how to make sacrifices for what you might want right now so you can have what you want later on down the line. Rather than buy an 80-inch flat screen, high definition, super top of the line TV that's going to have you in a lot of debt for a long time, why don't you just get a simple TV that works now? Get a simple vehicle that gets you where you need to go. Get clothing from affordable stores and websites or whatnot, and save your money up. Buy a home. The more people you have that are willing to go on this, the safer the investment looks to the bank. Because you're going to have to go, unless you hit the lotto or you make it big and you start making great money doing as an influencer or whatever the case may be. Yeah, you can make money better than the average person. But if you have multiple people that actually have halfway good credit or decent credit, you guys can all go to the bank and have a multiple petition for a loan, and they will grant that loan because they see there's 3 or 4 or 5 people with good enough credit to actually make this loan payment work. You guys can all put your money together and pay the mortgage, and then you can work to get a construction loan, which will add on to the property, and you can increase your monetary value by selling that house or that property for double what you paid for it. Then you can divide that money, and you can all start making your own investments with money to put down. But if you have a team, you can accomplish so much more. That's why if you look at most of the property owners in Los Angeles, California, United States, for those of you guys who are outside of the US, if you look at the owners of properties out here, the majority of the big property owners, such as the parking lots, such as the skyscrapers, the movie theaters, shopping centers, etc., in these massive apartment complexes, if you look at the people who own that, 9 times out of 10, it's a group of partners who put their money together to make this happen. One of the biggest reasons why there's so much poverty is because there's such a lack of unity. If there was more unity, more people can get together, create a solid business plan, and say, we're going to get out of here, out of poverty, and we're going to make it. But they would rather have the easy route of, oh, let's go ahead and just sit on welfare. And this is not knocking anybody on welfare who absolutely needs welfare. Welfare is there for those who are in need of it. But there are many people on welfare who do not need it, that would just rather get the handouts than actually have to work. Those are the people about whom I'm speaking. If you don't need welfare, but you're getting it because of the fact that it's easier to get welfare and you can go ahead and blow that money on stuff you don't need, no, that's not right, in my opinion. I think that the people who are making less than the money they need to survive are unable to make a good living working a job. Those are the people that need welfare. Though welfare is supposed to be a temporary help to help people get on their own feet and support themselves. But there are people who are fully functioning, fully happy, but would rather just go on and stay on welfare so they can get the free money. Everyone likes free money, but what does that do? It's not enough money to help you get out of poverty. It's enough money to keep you in poverty, but to pay some of your bills, if that. So if you were to get a couple of people who have the same mentality, start assessing, and what I mean by the same mentality is you all want to get out of poverty. You all want to make something of yourself. You all want to grow. You hear the term often, and it's such a cliche term, but it's so true. You need money to make money. But the caveat on that, the point is you don't need that much money to make money, because the wealthy don't use their own money to make money. They use bank money, they use investor money, and then they pay that money back and they never lose their money. That's what smart business people do. Now we can easily say, well, they have more assets than we do, or they have more resources they do. You're absolutely right. But many of those people started from where we were, and now they're where they are. What's the difference? The difference is that they were determined to get out of the hood I grew up in. They were determined to get out of poverty. They were determined to not be a stereotype. I know lots of business owners, and every one of their stories are strong and full of resilience and determination. And I love talking to Punjabi, Indian, and Asian culture individuals who own businesses, and my Jewish friends who own businesses. I love talking to these individuals because I've learned so much. I've met with, and I have good associations with business owners of all different racial backgrounds. And I've heard so many, the majority of those stories that I've heard about how they started up came from having good partnerships, good people who were also willing to make the same choices and really work with them, good people who were willing to be all in. The amount of money that you have in this project doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you're all looking to benefit from it. If you can all get on the same page and say, you know what, we're getting out of poverty. We're going to get our own homes. We're going to get our own places. How are we going to do that? One of the easiest and fastest ways to get out of poverty is to get something that makes you money. And one of the most common things that makes people money are properties. So if you can get a property by getting multiple people who can actually afford to pay the mortgage, let's say the mortgage is going to be $2,000 a month for the property that you're interested in. So if you get 5 people and each one of you guys puts $500 in that, 2 people pay $1,000, 2 people pay $1,000, so that now you got $2,500 going in there. $2,500 going in this one. You're paying it. You're paying the bills, and you're giving a little more for that mortgage. But you can actually rent that property out for, while you're also building in the backyard. You can rent that property out for $3,000, depending on what the housing market is in that area. What you want to do is you want to turn a profit. So you can go ahead and keep putting money on there, but you're going to rent it for $3,000. You can take that extra $1,000 or whatever the case may be. You can take that extra money and you can put that money into a construction loan and then start financing another build in the backyard. If there's enough space to build multiple units, you can build right there. And while you can keep in mind, let's say the house was worth $500,000. Let's say that, just for a simple number, the house is worth $500,000. You bought it. You and your partners, you guys came together. You bought it. You guys are paying for the mortgage. Now you're adding another property in the backyard. By adding this property in the backyard, you're actually going to result in increasing the equity, or which will be the value of the home now. What equity is the difference between like how much the house was worth when you paid for it, when you bought it, and how much it's worth now. So let's say you put 2 or 3 units in the back, 2 or 3 little apartments in the very backyard, or in the backyard, and connect them to the main house, or just have them sitting there and built one on top of the other. You can add rent for each one of those properties, each one of those units. So let's say the housing market skyrockets. The house, before you added those extra units on it, let's say they were to reappraise the house. Now the house is worth about $700,000 without the extra units in the backyard. But now you have these extra permitted units in the backyard, and now the amount of worth your house, that the property is now, is $1.5 million. $1.5 million is how much that property is worth now. So the equity that you have, which is the growth of how much money your house was worth when you bought it to now what you can sell it at, or what it's worth to be sold, you just got $1 million profit. And if you have 5 friends, you can do the math. You can divide 1 million divided by 5, and that's a pretty good chunk of change if you really think about it, because that's more money than the average person gets. So what are we going to do? Are we going to stay in poverty, or are we going to move out? That really just depends on you. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people stay in poverty, is because they're not willing to do what it takes to get out of poverty. Going out and selling drugs and doing something illegal is not doing what it takes. That's the simple way out. Yeah, it's dangerous. I'm not going to sit there and say it's not. I'm not going to say it's all easy. But the thing is that that's not money that you can really be proud of. It's money you got to really get rid of, because you never know when your turn's going to come up to get shot, to get killed, to be put in jail, or put in prison. But when you sell properties, you can sleep at night, be comfortable, be happy. And just think, if you were to sell a house that you bought for $500,000, you have 5 people that help put the money together to get this loan, and now you're able to sell it at $1.5 million. That's $1 million of equity, $1 million of profit you guys have gained from this house, divided by 5 people, which would be $200,000 per person. Now, just keep in mind, there are going to be some fees, the real estate agent fees, taxes, stuff like that. So it'd be a little bit less than $200,000 in the long run. But the fact is how many of us have $100,000 or $200,000 in the bank right now? If you were to have something like that, you can easily buy your own property again. Or you can all put your money together and you guys can actually have more collateral in the bank that will allow you to buy an even bigger property that you can turn into a business building. The thing is that sometimes getting out, or getting the future that you really want, depends on the people around whom you surround yourself. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep making excuses that it's the government's fault you can't get out of debt? Are you going to make excuses that it's the color of your skin that makes you not able to get out of debt or out of poverty, that you can't get ahead because of this or that or this? That's called the victim mentality. That's also something that the wealthy do not suffer from. Oh yeah, it's because they're wealthy. No, it's because they refuse to see themselves as victims. There are people, and there have been many stories of individuals who had so much money but blew it all away, lost everything, because they didn't have the go-getter mentality that is required for a wealthy person to have and maintain. Wealthy people, you look at some of the celebrities in the hip-hop industry. A lot of those guys are go-getters. They do whatever it takes to hustle and get their brand out there. You walk down the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Hollywood, California. You walk down there, you'll always see guys out there handing out their CDs, or handing out thumb drives with their music, or telling people about their music and playing their songs so that people can hear and listen, and actually somebody might get the attention and go, wow, these guys are good, and give them a shot. You hear that all the time because they're hustlers. They're willing to go out there and do what it takes to achieve the future that they want. In fact, that's going to be another episode I'm going to have later on another time. But the thing is that in the end, more often than not, the reason a person is in poverty is because of choices that person chooses to continue making. Notice what I said. Notice the words that I said. More often than not, the reason why a person is still in poverty is because the choices that they choose to keep making. Are you throwing your money away in businesses, opportunities, products, vehicles, or other industries that are not benefiting you financially? If you are, you're the reason why you're still in poverty. You can have an incredible business plan, but if you're not willing to go out there and do what it takes to make that business come to life, you're just wasting money. You have to be honest with yourself. If you feel you have what it takes, then go do what it takes to make that dream happen. Go out there and make your business come to life. Build it up. Figure out a way to make it happen. But do it the right way. Do it the legal way. Because seriously, there are people out there way more powerful than you are. And if you want to stab them in the back, they can blackball you. They can keep you from achieving the greatness you want to achieve because they know the people you're about to meet. But if you do everything honorable and you continue on, your time will come. There may still be people who try to resist you, but I'm telling you, if you're willing to do what it takes the right way, you can break into the most secure areas of life and class and success, because nothing will keep out your potential except for you. You might run into some walls on the way up there, but guess what? There's still another way. And if you're meant to do it, it will happen. But you got to do your part. You can't expect it just to fall in your lap and happen for you. That rarely ever happens. And when it does happen to people, they weren't planning on it. So if you're planning on it happening like that for you, you're in for a rude awakening. You have to be willing to go out there. You have to find people who are hungry. Because I'm telling you, look, like I've known so many guys who are drug dealers out there who have sold immense amounts of drugs to people. And you know, I used to hear them all the time talking about, oh yeah, man, I make money, man, I be getting that money. I got so tired of hearing them say that, and I asked him, what is the largest amount of money that you've ever held at one time? He's like, what, cash? I'm like, yeah. He said 20,000. I held like 20,000. The other guy said I held $1 million. It wasn't his, but he held $1 million. Another guy told me he held about 50,000. Once again, wasn't his, but he held it. You know what it felt like. He's like, man, that's a lot. I'm like, that's more money than the average person, but that's not getting money. And you see, this is why we think that's getting money. Oh my gosh, making $5,000 a month is getting money. It's a comfortable life. Yeah, that's getting more money than the average person. That's a comfortable life. But if you just keep your parameters to that little small box, you're missing out on your full potential. Because in order to become wealthy, you have to get out of your comfort zone. Because staying in your comfort zone keeps you from growing. We're so programmed and conditioned to think that getting money is just getting a little bit extra. But I tell you, this is what getting money is, which is what the wealthy do. The wealthy go, you know what? I feel like having lunch in Paris today. And then make one phone call to their private pilot or to the corporation that they use to fly private planes and private charter jets. They call them and say, hey, I want to go to Paris in 2 hours. I'll be at the airport. I want you to take me in Paris in 2 hours. And they'll say, okay, they'll make it happen. They swipe their card or they have an account already with the airline, because I'm sure, you know, they're repeat users. And then they go out and they get on that plane and then they fly, and that plane's ready to leave the tarmac once they get there. Getting money is walking up and seeing something you like and getting it without asking how much it is, because you like it. That's getting money. Getting money is coming home to a home that is yours, not one you're renting. Getting money is being able to sleep in if you want to. Most wealthy people, they don't sleep in like that. They take vacations, but they don't sleep in like that, because when you're sleeping, you're not making money as much as you would be if you're actually doing something. So yeah, you can go ahead and think you're getting money by playing around and getting a little extra, or you can say, I'm going to actually start getting money, quote unquote. I'm going to go and have lunch where I want to have lunch at the blink of an eye when I want to. If I want to take a vacation, I'm going to take a vacation, and I'm not going to lose money for doing it. If I want to sleep in and come in late because I can, because I own the company, that's getting money. If your company will not exist without you, you're on the right path, but you're not there yet. The wealthy don't have to go to every business meeting. They'll be there because they're passionate about the business. They want to be involved in everything, but they can go ahead and say, hey, keep me informed. They can be on a jet on the way to to Greece if they want to be, and be having a meeting in their plane while everybody else is inside that office. That's getting money. So the first step, if you really want to quote unquote get money, the first step is to make the decision that you're tired of being in the poverty levels of the world. The next step is to get like-minded individuals who have good enough credit to actually make this happen. And if they don't have good enough credit, then it's time that you all work together to figure out a way to straighten your credit up. How do you lower the total level of the total credit usage, which means all the credit you have available to you? How do you lower that to 30% or lower? That's the magic number. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about, credit usage and building credit, because there are tons of YouTube videos out there right now on how to do that. Now, honestly, I'm not going to try to address that point to the rest of the world, because honestly, I don't know how credit works with the rest of the world. I don't know if they have, the same credit requirements. I don't know if they look at credit the same. I don't know if credit is as important in other parts of the world as it is in the United States. I don't know. I've never looked into it, honestly. I've never asked people from other countries about that question. So that advice would be more so to people in the United States, especially people in California, because, it's expensive to live out here, as well as in New York. It's very expensive to live in certain parts of the United States. So if you have individuals who are tired of being impoverished and really want to do something bigger, then find a need and fill a need. That's where the greatest creations are. If there's a need for housing, why don't you and a group of your friends that have the same hunger go buy a property and turn that one house into an apartment complex with 5 or 6 units in it? That's 5 or 6 families that you're able to put in that one building. You can also ask to, when you raise enough equity and money, you can also ask to buy the neighbor's property if the neighbor is willing to sell. You can do the same thing. You can buy old parking lots, old abandoned areas, and you can turn those areas into places that will accommodate a need. Find a need, fill a need. If you don't have friends that are hungry and determined to do what it takes to get out of poverty, go to places where people like that exist and live. Because I'm telling you, they're there. And sometimes it takes like-minded individuals who are willing to sacrifice now so they can have later. And that is the facts of life. That is so true. There are tons of immigrants who've come to this country with no money, and today they own some of the most successful restaurants. Like, oh, what's the color of the skin? No, that's BS. There are successful business owners from Africa, from Mexico, from Greece, from Italy, from all over the world, India, just anywhere in the world. People have come to this country, and so many of them come with nothing in their pocket, no financial means. They live in a car, and then they built an empire because they had the tenacity, which means they were willing to keep coming back even when they hit a wall. They keep climbing. They had the resilience. Every time they got knocked down, they got right back up and kept coming for you. There was an American boxer back in the, I think it was the 60s or 70s. I know it's about that time frame. His name was Joe Frazier. They called him Smoking Joe Frazier. And one of the biggest reasons why they called him that, actually the reason they called him that, was because people knew that if you fought Smoking Joe Frazier, he came at you like a smoking freight train. You can hit him, but he'll keep coming for you. You hit him, he'll keep coming for you. Muhammad Ali really loved fighting him because he was a heck of a fighter. He was not easy to knock down. And if you want to get out of poverty, that's what you need to do. You need to keep coming like a freight train. You need to make everyone around you realize that you're just not going to stop until you get out of poverty. And you might not, you might want to say, your plan might start off saying, we're going to have a group of people who are going to buy a property or buy some things, and we're going to grow it together. And then once we get the money that we really want, we're going to branch off and do our own thing. Yeah, you guys can do that. Or you can keep on staying as partners, and you're able to manage more areas. You can organize better. You guys can manage more areas and buy properties in different parts of the country, and later on different parts of the world. where all of you guys can become equal partners and build firms, where you have people working for you and keeping you posted, so where you're just overseeing things. It can happen. So really assess that. So just remember, staying in poverty is really most often because of the choices we continue to make. So if we stop making those choices and start thinking like a wealthy person or a person of success, we will most likely achieve the goals we want to achieve. Thank you for spending time with Real Talk excuse me. Thank you for spending time with Real Talk with RJ. Have a good night.